Close your eyes and imagine stepping into a medieval inn where firelight dances in the hearth. The scent of simmering stew wafts through, blending with soft snores and the patter of a goose outside. Can you feel a gentle stillness, as if time itself is lulling you into a historical dream? In this video, we'll gently guide you through the warm rhythm of a medieval inn where bubbling bowls of stew tell tales of weary travelers, and Marjorie, the masterful barmaid, weaves order from chaos. You'll drift into the golden glow of the Dutch Golden Age, where Vermeer's paintings whisper of serenity, the ancient Olympics, where sweat and glory meld under Zeus's gaze, and the Whiskey Rebellion, where resilience clashes with power. Each story is a melody, soft yet stirring, like a night breeze through a wooden window. Hit that subscribe button now to join us on these historical dreams. Light a candle, let your soul wander, and let the past cradle you. Are you ready? Picture yourself, weary traveler, standing at the threshold of a medieval inn as dawn's first light spills over a sagging thatched roof. The air hums with a gentle chill, carrying whispers of damp earth and the faint, savory promise of a simmering pot. This is no mere lodging. It's a living tapestry of chaos and kinship, tucked into the pulse of a dusty crossroads. As the sun's rays slip through splintered shutters, the inn stirs with a quiet expectancy, like a melody waiting to be sung. Settle by the hearth, where embers glow with secrets of last night's tales, and let us weave you softly into this world, where every creak holds a story. The innkeeper, a man carved by years of toil, rouses in his sparse attic chamber. His bed, a rough-hewn frame packed with straw, groans faintly beneath him, its coarse blanket steeped in the tang of time and forgotten ale. Unlike the gilded halls of nobles, this place thrives on humble warmth, its lifeblood drawn from the clamor of its guests. He rises with care, his movements slow, as though savoring the fragile calm before the day's tumult. Slipping into a threadbare tunic and trousers tied with a weathered belt, he pauses at the door. There a peg holds odd treasures: a tarnished spoon, a wax-stripped candle stub, and a lone tattered sock, relics of travelers long gone. He spares them no thought. Dawn is no time for questions, and he knows better than to linger. Descending the creaking stairs, he enters the common room, where silence reigns, almost holy in its rarity. The air is heavy with echoes of yesterday's revelry: stale mead, charred oak, and the musky trace of woolen cloaks. A single mug lies overturned on a scarred table, catching the dawn's glow, while a stray boot slumps by the hearth, its owner a mystery. Beneath a bench, a man snores with brazen assurance, as if the floor were a feather bed. The innkeeper treads lightly, his boots brushing the worn planks, mindful not to wake the sleepers. In this world, premature stirrings can ignite tempers, or worse, spark a blade's glint. With deft hands, he stirs the hearth, the poker's soft scrape coaxing embers into a warm flicker. Firewood, scarce as silver, is rationed with care. He recalls a guest who once tried roasting a goose indoors, feathers aflame, turning comfort into chaos. Such folly won't repeat under his watch. As he hangs a pot over the flames, the remnants of last night's feast, a murky blend of barley, roots, and whatever scraps endured begin to warm, releasing a hearty, if dubious scent. Outside, the faint bray of a mule and the steady crunch of boots herald approaching travelers. The innkeeper exhales, a silent nod to the day's demands. This is no grand fortress, no seat of splendor, but it is his kingdom. Its walls, etched with the laughter and sorrows of countless souls, hold a charm no palace could claim. Each knothole whispers of fleeting lives, each stain a chapter in the inn's endless saga. It breathes, its heart pulsing with the ebb and flow of those who seek its refuge. Yet, this is but the opening verse. As the inn awakens, a cast of vivid characters prepares to take the stage. Merchants clutching coin, stuffed purses, pilgrims nursing sore feet, and bards spinning tales as shaky as their morals. Each carries a spark, ready to ignite the day's drama, from quiet joys to raucous quarrels. The innkeeper, ever the unseen maestro, stands poised to guide this motley choir, balancing their needs with the inn's fragile order. And at the center of it all waits Marjorie, the barmaid whose keen mind and steady hands tame the wildest storms. Before we meet her, though, let us bask in this fleeting hush, where the inn holds its breath, teetering between night's embrace and morning's vigor. For now, the hearth's soft crackle beckons, a tender prelude to the day's first ritual. Breakfast, though plain, is a dance of survival, a delicate bargain between hunger and the pot's mysteries. As the inn braces for its guests, the air grows richer, the scents deeper, and the promise of new tales unfurls. Come, dear listener, step into this realm where every sunrise births a fresh saga, and every stranger bears a story yet untold. Let the inn's gentle cadence draw you onward into the warmth of its morning song, where the first notes of a vibrant day are ready to rise. As the pot simmers and the travelers draw near, the stage is set for a morning feast, where the inn's true spirit will soon come alive. The hearth's gentle glow casts dancing shadows across the common room, where the air now hums with the promise of sustenance. The pot, suspended over the flames, begins to murmur, its contents a humble pottage of barley, wilted turnips, and the ghostly traces of last night's goose, stirring into a thick, earthy brew. This is no feast for kings, but in this weathered sanctuary of travelers, breakfast is a ritual, a quiet pact between the inn's hearth and the hunger of those who gather here. Settle closer, dear listener. Let the soft clink of wooden spoons and the faint sizzle of broth lull you into this moment, where the day's first meal weaves a delicate thread of survival, camaraderie, and the unspoken hope that no one chokes on the bread. The innkeeper, his sleeves dusted with flour from a sack of oats, tends the pot with a practiced hand, stirring slowly to ensure the porridge doesn't cling to the blackened iron. The pottage is less a recipe than a philosophy, an alchemy of whatever the pantry holds, reborn each dawn with a purpose. Yesterday, it was barley and roots. Today, those same turnips, now mushy and sweet, meld with fragments of meat that defy naming. No guest dares question its lineage, for in a world where clean water is a gamble, this steaming bowl is a blessing. Beside the hearth, a loaf of rye bread, hard as a cobblestone, awaits its fate. The innkeeper slices it with care, his knife scraping against the crust, knowing one false move could cost a blade or a tooth. This bread is not chewed but conquered, softened by broth or sheer determination, a testament to the resilience of those who break it. Yet, the meal's true necessity lies not in the pot, but in the barrels behind the counter, where weak ale sloshes in oaken depths. Water here is a risk, clouded with unseen perils, and milk is a luxury hoarded for the Lord's pampered cat. Ale, boiled and strained through desperation, is the lifeblood of the inn, safe enough for even the youngest to sip under watchful eyes. The innkeeper pours it into chipped mugs, the amber liquid catching the firelight, each pouring a quiet act of care. This is no tavern of debauchery, but a haven where survival demands practicality, and ale at dawn is as natural as breath. As he sets the mugs on a tray, the room begins to stir, its silence giving way to the shuffle of boots and the rustle of cloaks. First to appear is a merchant, his fingers curled protectively around a purse heavy with coppers, his eyes darting as if the coins might sprout legs. He claims a bench near the hearth, muttering about trade routes and tariffs, his voice a low drone against the crackle of the fire. Next comes a pilgrim, his face etched with the weariness of miles, clutching a gnarled staff as he eases onto a stool. His lips move silently, perhaps in prayer or complaint about the blisters plaguing his feet. Then, inevitably, the bard arrives, his lute slung carelessly over one shoulder, his hair a tangle of ambition and neglect. He calls for honey to sweeten his porridge, as if the inn were a noble's larder, earning a raised eyebrow from the innkeeper. Honey, locked away in a chest, is as rare as a quiet morning, and the bard's request floats unanswered, a note in a song no one sings. At the heart of this gathering stands Marjorie, the barmaid, a figure of quiet command whose presence steadies the room like an anchor in a storm. Her apron, stained with the battles of countless meals, is tied with a knot that speaks of resolve. She moves with a dancer's grace, balancing a tray of mugs in one hand while swatting a stray hand with the other, her reflexes honed by years of dodging drunken flirts. Her eyes, sharp as a falcon's, scan the room, catching the merchant's nervous tick, the pilgrim's muttered woes, and the bard's futile charm. She serves the pottage with a ladle that seems an extension of her will, each scoop a precise measure of warmth. To the bard's honey plea, she offers a flat, eat what's given, her voice a blade wrapped in velvet, and he slinks back to his bowl, chastened but unbowed. The common room, now alive with the clatter of spoons and the murmur of voices, becomes a tapestry of human need. The merchant chews his bread slowly, calculating profits between bites, while the pilgrim dunks his crust in broth, softening it as he softens his heart with thoughts of salvation. The bard, undeterred, hums a tune about lost loves and stolen goats, his voice grating yet oddly endearing, like a creaky gate in a familiar garden. A child, trailing a weary mother, darts between tables, giggling as he snatches a crumb, unaware of the world's weight. Marjorie weaves through it all, refilling mugs, dodging spills, and issuing warnings with a glance that could halt a charging ox. Her smile, rare but genuine, is reserved for those who meet her gaze with respect, a currency more valuable than coin in this chaotic haven. As the meal unfolds, the inn's flaws fade beneath its warmth. The pottage, bland and lumpy, fills bellies with a stubborn insistence. The bread, a trial to jaw and patience, becomes a shared jest, guests exchanging grimaces like old friends. The ale, weak but steady, loosens tongues just enough for stories to flow of distant markets, holy shrines, or a goat that outwitted a knight. No one dies, no one faints, and by the brutal standards of the age, this is a triumph. The innkeeper, leaning against the counter, watches it all with a quiet pride, his weathered face softening as the room buzzes with life. Marjorie, her tray now empty, pauses to wipe a table, her movements a silent hymn to endurance. But this is only the morning's overture. As bowls are emptied and mugs drained, the inn braces for the day's next act, a flood of new faces, each with demands as varied as their cloaks. The merchant will haggle, the pilgrim will pray, and the bard, undaunted, will strum another ill-fated tune. Marjorie, ever vigilant, will steer the chaos, her sharp wit a beacon in the storm. For now, though, let us linger in the afterglow of breakfast, where the hearth's warmth and the meal's humble grace hold sway. Join us, dear listener, as we follow the inn's rhythm into the morning's heart, where the clamor of life is just beginning to rise, ready to spill into the vibrant chaos of a new day. As the last spoonfuls of pottage are savored, and the inn's heart hums its quiet lullaby, the medieval inn begins to pulse with a new rhythm. The morning sun, now climbing higher, spills through the warped shutters, painting the common room in a soft golden haze. The air grows lively, laced with the smoky warmth of the fire and the faint tang of spilled ale, as if the inn itself is stretching awake, ready to embrace the day's vibrant chaos. Imagine yourself nestled in a corner, a chipped mug cradled in your hands, as the room fills with a parade of souls, each carrying a story etched in dust and dreams. Let the gentle clatter of boots and the murmur of voices weave you into this tapestry, dear listener, where the inn's heart beats loudest in the company it keeps. By mid-morning, the common room transforms into a stage, its worn planks creaking under the weight of new arrivals. The innkeeper, his brow furrowed with the quiet focus of a man who knows the day's tempo, leans against the counter, wiping a rag over a mug that gleams more from habit than cleanliness. He watches, ever observant, as the inn's doors swing open, admitting a motley cast of travelers. First to stride in is a man claiming knighthood, though his armor tells a different tale. Its plates, mismatched and kissed by rust, clank softly, held together by a rope that might once have tethered a goat. His voice booms, demanding a private room, but his empty purse and the scent of stable straw clinging to him betray his bravado. The innkeeper nods, non-committal, for promises without coin are as fleeting as morning mist. Close on his heels shuffles a merchant's apprentice, a youth with eyes bright as polished silver, but a tongue too eager for his own good. He speaks of fleets and fortunes, yet his pockets yield only buttons, offered with a haggle as bold as it is futile. He perches on a stool, arguing over the price of a mug of ale, as if the inn were a marketplace, and Marjorie a vendor to be swayed. But Marjorie, the barmaid, whose presence is the inn's steady pulse, merely arches a brow, her silence sharper than any retort. She glides past, her apron whispering against the benches, her tray steady despite the chaos unfolding around her. Her gaze, keen and unyielding, misses nothing, not the apprentice's fidgeting hands, nor the knight's faltering swagger. Then, as if summoned by the inn's own mischief, a bard appears, his lute slung low and his cloak dappled with the stains of a dozen taverns. His voice, rich with unwarranted confidence, launches into a mournful tune of love lost and livestock pilfered, the notes wavering like a candle in a draught. The six-stringed lute, one string shy, protests under his fingers, yet he sings on, oblivious to the groans rippling through the room. A child, darting between tables, giggles at the bard's theatrics, while an elderly woman, her face a map of wrinkles, shakes her head, muttering about the folly of poets. The innkeeper, accustomed to such performances, pours another mug, his lips twitching with the ghost of a smile. Bards, after all, are as much a fixture as the hearth, their songs a currency of distraction, if not gold. Yet the cast is not complete without the monk, who shuffles in with a solemn nod, his robes brushing the floor like a whispered prayer. He blesses the benches, the tables, even the hearth, his hands tracing sacred signs in the air. His eyes, however, linger on the bread left by a careless guest, and within moments he's nibbling a crust, explaining in hushed tones that a broken loaf is no sin. The room, now a symphony of clashing voices and scents, grows denser smoke from the fire, the sour bite of unwashed wool, and the odd, cabbage-like whiff of a traveler's socks drying too close to the flames. A goose, somehow slipped through the open door, waddles in, its beady eyes gleaming with defiance. It pecks at a spilled crumb, scattering a pair of dice from a game no one admits to playing, and the child chases it, shrieking with delight. Through this whirlwind, Marjorie moves like a breeze, untangled by the storm. She dodges the goose, refills a mug, and silences the bard with a glance that could curdle milk. Her authority is unspoken, woven into the way she navigates the crowd, her tray a shield against the press of demands. The knight's bluster fades under her steady gaze. The apprentice's haggling stumbles into silence. Even the monk, mid-bite, offers a sheepish nod, as if acknowledging her as the true guardian of this sacred space. The innkeeper, watching from his post, shares a fleeting look with her, a silent pact that this, for all its madness, is their domain, and they will see it through. But this lively scene is merely the morning's crescendo, a prelude to the day's unfolding drama. As the sun climbs higher, more travelers will arrive, each with quirks and quarrels to add to the inn's ever-shifting tale. The knight may draw his sword, the bard his lute, and the goose, no doubt, will return with a grudge. Marjorie, ever the linchpin, will steer the chaos, her with a beacon in the clamor. For now, though, let us linger in this vibrant hum, where the inn's spirit sings through its people, their voices, their flaws, their fleeting joys. Join us, dear listener, as we drift into the heart of the day, where the inn's doors stand open, ready to welcome the next wave of stories, and the morning's gentle song gives way to a chorus of life. As the medieval inn's morning hum swells into a vibrant chorus, the common room pulses with the clamor of travelers, knights with rusty boasts, bards with off-key dreams, and a goose that refuses to respect boundaries. Yet amidst this whirlwind of voices and spilled ale, one figure stands as the inn's unwavering heart, a quiet force-weaving order from the fray. Picture yourself, dear listener, tucked into a shadowed alcove, the hearth's soft glow warming your cheek, as we turn our gaze to Marjorie, the barmaid whose steady hands and sharper wit hold this creaking haven together. Let the gentle rhythm of her steps, the faint clink of mugs on her tray, lull you into her world, where every glance is a command and every smile a rare treasure. Marjorie, whose age is a mystery blurred by the weight of countless tales, moves through the inn like a river carving its path effortlessly, unyielding and utterly essential. Her apron, a patchwork of stains from battles with stew and swagger, is knotted with the precision of a sailor's rope, a silent vow to endure. Her hair, swept into a practical braid, carries the faint scent of wood smoke and sage, a reminder of the hearth she tends and the herbs she scatters to mask the room's less savory notes. She is neither young nor old, but timeless, as if the inn itself has shaped her, forging a woman who could outlast its beams. Yet, her eyes bright, piercing, and flecked with the wisdom of 1,000 dodged flirts, betray a spark that no chaos can dim. Her day begins before the dawn's first whisper, when the inn still slumbers under a blanket of quiet. While the innkeeper stirs the hearth, Marjorie is already in the kitchen, coaxing life into the fire, checking the ale barrels, and scraping yesterday's pottage from the pot's stubborn edges. Her hands, calloused but deft, move with a dancer's grace, each task a note in the inn's morning song. She sweeps the floor, not with haste, but with purpose, pushing crumbs and stray feathers under benches where they'll trouble no one until tomorrow. By the time the first guest stumbles down, bleary-eyed and muttering, Marjorie is ready, tray in hand, apron smoothed, and a quip poised on her tongue to deflect any nonsense before it takes root. In the common room, she is a marvel of motion, balancing a tray laden with mugs while navigating the maze of outstretched legs and wayward elbows. A drunken mercenary once tried to compliment her ankles, only to find his boots nailed to the ceiling by morning, a legend whispered among guests as a warning. Her reflexes, honed by years of swatting, wandering hands, are swifter than a sparrow's flight. She serves the pottage with a ladle that seems to obey her will, each portion equal, no matter how loudly the bard begs for more. To his plea for honey, she offers a dry dream of it, her voice soft but edged with steel, and he shrinks back, his lute falling silent. Even the knight, with his blustering demands, falters under her gaze, his rusty armor no match for her quiet authority. Marjorie's power lies not in shouts or threats, but in her presence, a calm that anchors the storm. She speaks 4 dialects, each with a lilt that disarms, pouring ale without spilling a drop while dodging a child chasing the goose. Her insults, rare and precise, are delivered with a smile that could charm a bishop or curdle his wine. When the monk, nibbling stolen bread, tries to justify his lapse, she nods, her eyes twinkling with mock solemnity, and he blushes, caught in her web of gentle rebuke. She knows every guest's secrets not through prying but through watching. The merchant's nervous tick, the apprentice's stolen ring, the bard's rehearsed sob story. She sees it all, filing it away like a scribe in a quiet corner of her mind. Her kingdom is the floor, not the walls, and she rules it with a wink, a word, or a stare that could halt a charging boar. The innkeeper may own the deed, but Marjorie holds the reins, her every move a delicate dance of low expectations and high resolve. She serves stew, chases children, bandages scraped knees, and still finds time to refill every mug, often while dodging a falling spoon or calming a spat over a wobbly stool. Her tray never falters, a miracle in a place held together by splinters and stubbornness. When a traveler complains of a flea in his bed, she quips, it pays no rent either, and the room laughs, the tension dissolving like mist in the sun. Yet, beneath her iron will, there's a quiet weariness, a shadow cast by years of poet's drivel and traveler's whims. She dreams perhaps of a day without spills or songs, but if she does, she keeps it locked away, as tightly as the honey in the chest. For now, she is the inn's soul, its beating heart, and without her, the chaos would swallow it whole. As the morning crowd swells, she stands ready, her tray a shield, her wit a sword, to face the day's next act. This, though, is but a glimpse of her reign. As noon approaches, the inn will brim with louder voices, bolder demands, and the goose's inevitable return. Marjorie, ever the sentinel, will guide the tumult, her steady hand shaping the inn's story. Join us, dear listener, as we follow her through the midday storm, where the inn's vibrant chaos unfolds under her watchful eye, and the gentle cadence of her work carries us into the heart of the day. As the medieval inn basks in the golden glow of mid-morning, its common room thrums with the lively echoes of travelers' tales and Marjorie's deft command. Yet, as the sun arcs higher, casting dappled light through the inn's weathered shutters, a new crescendo builds, heralding the midday meal. The hearth crackles with renewed vigor, its flames licking at a pot of pottage that simmers with the stubborn persistence of survival. Picture yourself, dear listener, perched on a creaky bench, the air thick with the scent of barley and the faint jangle of Marjorie's iron triangle, summoning a tide of hungry souls. Let the soft clamor of voices, the scuffle of boots, and the inn's pulsing energy cradle you into this moment, where lunchtime unfurls in a whirlwind of noise, need, and unexpected mirth. The signal comes abruptly, a sharp clang that slices through the morning's hum. Marjorie, her apron, a banner of hard-won battles, strikes the triangle with a precision that demands attention. The inn responds instantly, as if stirred by an ancient spell. Guests emerge from corners shadowed by time, their eyes alight with the primal call of hunger. A trader, his cloak dusted with the road's grit, leaps over a sleeping hound, his haste betraying a man who knows the best seats go quickly. Two farmers, their hands rough as the earth they till, bicker over who reached a bench first, though 6 empty stools stand unclaimed nearby. A bard, ever the opportunist, swings his lute like a banner, striding toward the hearth as if the meal were a stage for his next ballad. The room, once a gentle murmur, erupts into a stampede of motion and sound, a chaotic ballet where every step risks a spilled mug or a bruised ego. At the hearth, the innkeeper ladles pottage with a steady hand, the steaming broth a mystery of turnips, oats, and fragments too humble to name. This is no banquet, but a testament to the inn's frugality, where yesterday's scraps find new life in today's bowl. The steam rises, curling like a prayer, its scent a curious blend of hearth and harvest, tinged with the faintest hint of cabbage left too long in the pot. Beside the pot, a loaf of rye bread, dense as a millstone, awaits its fate. The innkeeper slices it with a knife, honed by necessity, each chunk landing with a thud that echoes the meal's unyielding nature. Guests eye the bread warily, knowing it demands patience or a desperate dip in broth to soften its resolve. One traveler, bold or foolish, asks if the pottage is vegetarian. Another, puzzled, inquires what vegetarian means. The innkeeper, deaf to such queries, continues his work, his silence a shield against the absurd. Marjorie, the inn's unyielding compass, navigates this storm with a grace that defies the tumult. Her tray, laden with mugs of weak ale, balances as if by magic, her steps weaving through the press of bodies like a thread through a loom. Her eyes, sharp as a hawk's, scan the room, catching the trader's greedy reach for a second bowl, the farmer's pointless squabble, and the bard's attempt to serenade his pottage. She serves with a speed that belies her calm, her ladle dipping into the pot with the rhythm of a heartbeat. When the bard strums a note, his voice rising in an ode to the meal, she places a mug before him with a force that silences his song, her smile a warning wrapped in warmth. The room chuckles, the tension easing, for Marjorie's authority is as much a comfort as the fire. The common room, now a cauldron of noise, brims with life. Near the hearth, two guards engage in a belching contest, their laughter rumbling like distant thunder, while a monk, his robes dusted with crumbs, hums a hymn between bites, his piety softened by the pottage's warmth. A child, trailing a tattered cloak, darts between tables, pursued by the goose, which has returned with a swagger that suggests it owns the place. The bird, emboldened by spilled crumbs, pecks at a guard's boot, sparking a roar of laughter that drowns the monk's melody. A woman, her face lined with the weight of miles, trades a crust for a sip of ale, her eyes twinkling with a story she'll never tell. The innkeeper, watching from his post, polishes a mug with a rag older than most guests, his gaze softened by the chaos he calls home. This meal, though crude, is a triumph of necessity. The pottage, flavorless but filling, warms bellies with a quiet insistence. The bread, a test of jaw and will, becomes a shared jest, guests grimacing in solidarity as they chew. The ale, thin but safe, loosens tongues, coaxing tales of lost loves, won bets, and a goose that once outran a night. No one falls ill, no bowls are flung, and by the brutal measure of the age, this is victory. Marjorie, her tray now lighter, pauses to sweep a spill, her movements a silent hymn to endurance. The inn, for all its flaws, wobbly benches, sticky floors, sings with the joy of shared survival, its spirit lifted by the clamor of its people. Yet, this lively tumult is but a fleeting act in the inn's endless play. As the sun nears its zenith, the meal will end, leaving a trail of crumbs and chaos to be tamed. Marjorie, ever the guardian, will lead the cleanup, her sharp eye catching every stain and stray boot. New guests loom on the horizon, their demands ready to test the inn's fragile order. For now, though, let us linger in this midday storm, where the inn's heart beats loudest in its mess and mirth. Join us, dear listener, as we follow the ebb of this feast into the quiet aftermath, where the inn braces for the next wave, and the gentle pulse of its life carries us toward the day's unfolding drama. With the midday sun casting a warm glow through the inn's weathered walls, the clamor of lunchtime fades into a fleeting hush, like the pause between verses in a bard's song. The common room, strewn with the remnants of pottage and laughter, lies in disarray, its tables bearing the scars of a meal well fought. The hearth's embers pulse softly, their gentle crackle a quiet counterpoint to the chaos that has passed. Envision yourself, dear listener, leaning against a worn beam, the faint scent of barley and ale lingering in the air as we step into the inn's next act, a ritual of restoration led by the indomitable Marjorie. Let the soft scrape of her broom and the clink of stacked bowls draw you into this moment where the inn seeks to reclaim its order, if only for a breath before the next storm. The task begins with Marjorie, her apron still tied with resolute knots, surveying the room like a captain assessing a storm-tossed deck. Her eyes, keen as ever, sweep over the chaos, a tipped mug dripping ale onto a bench, a scattering of onion peels inexplicably wedged beneath a stool, and a lone boot, unclaimed and forlorn, tucked under a table. This is no mere mess, but a battlefield, each stain a tale of the meal's fervor. She moves with purpose, her broom a scepter of command, sweeping crumbs and stray feathers into piles with a rhythm that speaks of years spent taming the inn's wild spirit. The floorboards, sticky with spilled broth, groan under her steps, as if reluctant to surrender their secrets. Yet Marjorie persists, pushing debris toward corners where it can wait, unnoticed, until tomorrow's broom finds it again. The innkeeper, his hands dusted with the soot of the hearth, joins the effort, wielding a rag that has seen centuries of spills. He wipes the tables, not so much cleaning as redistributing the grime into a glossy sheen, a medieval alchemy of necessity. His movements are steady, unhurried, as if he knows the inn's flaws are part of its charm. A mug, half full of ale, is righted with care, its contents saved for a guest who might never return. Behind the counter, he discovers a ladle stuck in a crack, its handle slick with grease, and adds it to a bucket of water that serves more as a symbol of cleansing than an actual tool. The inn, held together by splinters and stubbornness, demands no perfection, only persistence, and the innkeeper offers it freely, his quiet pride etched in every swipe of his cloth. Guests who linger, their bellies full and their wits dulled by ale, risk Marjorie's gaze a look so potent it once made a noble tip, a silver coin, and flee. A merchant, still clutching his purse, hesitates over a half-eaten crust, as if debating its worth, until Marjorie's shadow falls across him. He scurries off, muttering about urgent business, leaving his bowl for her to claim. A child, oblivious to the cleanup, chases a rolling spoon across the floor, only to be gently redirected by Marjorie's hand. Her touch, firm yet kind. The goose, ever the opportunist, waddles in, pecking at a stray crumb, but a swift flick of Marjorie's broom sends it squawking toward the door. Her authority, unspoken but absolute, transforms the room from a riot's aftermath into something resembling order, her every move a testament to her reign over the inn's heart. The pottage pot, scraped clean of its meager contents, stands cooling by the hearth, its remnants destined for the pigs or, more likely, tomorrow's broth. Waste is a sin the inn cannot afford, and Marjorie ensures every scrap finds purpose, stirring water into the pot to begin the next meal's foundation. The innkeeper, meanwhile, stacks mugs in a precarious tower, their chipped rims a map of countless toasts. He mutters about washing them, but both he and Marjorie know the rain barrel outside will suffice, its water a divine enough purifier for their standards. A bucket, ostensibly for soaking dishes, sits nearby, its contents more ceremonial than functional, a nod to cleanliness in a world that laughs at such ideals. As the last crumb is swept and the benches righted, though one wobbles more than before the room begins to breathe again, its scars softened by the effort of its keepers. The air, still heavy with the memory of stew and smoke, carries a faint promise of calm, though the inn knows peace is as fleeting as a bard's good note. Marjorie, her braids slightly loosened, straightens her apron, her face a mask of resolve, tempered by the faintest trace of weariness. The innkeeper, leaning against the counter, surveys their work, his eyes crinkling with a satisfaction born of survival. Together, they have tamed the beast of lunchtime, if only for a moment, and the inn stands ready for whatever the afternoon brings. This quiet restoration, though, is merely a pause in the inn's endless dance. As the sun dips toward afternoon, new travelers will cross the threshold, their boots tracking fresh mud, their voices sparking new quarrels. Marjorie, the inn's steadfast sentinel, will meet them with her tray and her wit, ready to guide the next act. For now, let us rest in this fragile calm, where the inn's wounds are tended and its spirit gathers strength. Join us, dear listener, as we follow the inn's gentle rhythm into the afternoon's embrace, where the echoes of cleanup fade and the promise of new stories stirs in the air, waiting to unfold. The medieval inn exhales into the quiet aftermath of its lunchtime storm. The common room glows softly under the afternoon's amber light, its freshly swept floors gleaming with a fragile truce. The hearth's embers hum a tender tune, their warmth mingling with the lingering scent of barley and broom dust. Yet, this calm is a mere whisper, poised to shatter with the creak of the inn's heavy door. Imagine yourself, dear listener, tucked into a worn nook, the faint clink of Marjorie's tray echoing like a distant bell, as a fresh tide of travelers sweeps in, each trailing a tangle of dreams and dilemmas. Let the gentle rustle of cloaks, the murmur of strange tongues, and the inn's quickening pulse draw you into this moment, where new guests herald a cascade of challenges, met by the unyielding spirit of its keepers. The door swings open with a groan, admitting a traveler cloaked in a hood so oversized it might house a family of sparrows. His beard, a wild thicket dusted with road grit, frames a face set in a scowl that promises complaints. Striding to the counter, he demands almond milk for his pottage, his voice slicing through the room's hush like a misplaced lute string. The innkeeper, polishing a mug with a rag older than the hills, pauses, his eyes meeting Marjorie's in a silent exchange of disbelief. Almond milk, a notion as foreign as a dragon's lullaby, hangs unanswered, the room's collective stillness a rebuke sharper than words. Marjorie, her apron smoothed with a flick of her wrist, points to the pottage pot, her gesture a quiet decree: take what's offered, or go hungry. Behind the bearded stranger, a young couple slips in, their steps hesitant, their hands brushing yet never touching, as if bound by a secret too tender to name. Their eyes, wide with the thrill of forbidden flight, scan the room before settling on Marjorie. They ask to inspect a chamber upstairs, their voices low, tinged with the hope of privacy. Marjorie, her gaze softening for a moment, points to the creaking stairs, her words spare wooden walls, dry in summer, mostly. The couple nods, their gratitude unspoken, and ascends, their footsteps a soft counterpoint to the room's growing din. Yet, Marjorie's eyes linger, her instinct honed to spot trouble cloaked in innocence. For love, like ale, can spark chaos when spilled. Next enters a man draped in dust and self-importance, his cloak embroidered with faded threads that hint at past wealth. He questions the inn's candles where they are sourced. Are they ethically dripped? And whether the pottage respects the beasts it borrows from. The goose, as if summoned by irony, waddles in at that moment, sneezing on his polished boots with a disdain that draws a ripple of laughter. The man sputters, his dignity unraveling, but Marjorie's swift broom ushers the bird out, her movements a ballet of efficiency. The innkeeper, ever the diplomat, offers a mug of ale, his nod a silent plea for peace. The man accepts, muttering about standards, but his questions fade under the weight of the inn's unapologetic rhythm. Then, a new bard, this one younger, his lute strung with hope, but no skill strides in, announcing payment in song. His fingers pluck 3 sour notes, launching a ballad about a chamber pot's tragic leak. A tale so ill-chosen the room groans in unison. Marjorie, her tray balanced like a shield, intercepts him mid-verse, her broom tapping his boot with a firmness that brooks no argument. Singing outside, she says, her voice soft but unyielding, and the bard slinks toward the door, his lute silenced but his ego bruised. The innkeeper, watching from his post, shares a glance with Marjorie, their unspoken bond, a fortress against the tide of folly. In this haven, words are cheap, but order is priceless, and Marjorie guards it with a ferocity wrapped in grace. The common room, now a mosaic of clashing souls, buzzes with renewed energy. The bearded traveler nurses his pottage, his scowl softened by hunger, while the couple's muffled giggles drift from upstairs, hinting at secrets best left unprobed. The self-important man, his boots still damp, argues with the merchant over the price of wax, their voices a duet of pointless pride. The goose, undeterred, slips back in, eyeing a spilled crust with a bandit's gleam, only to be shooed by a child's gleeful chase. Marjorie weaves through it all, her tray a beacon, her eyes catching every spark before it ignites. She refills mugs, dodges complaints, and calms a monk who mutters about the bard's blasphemy, her presence a thread holding the inn's fraying tapestry together. This influx, though, is but the opening note of the afternoon song. As the sun dips toward evening, the inn will brim with louder demands, bolder quirks, and the inevitable return of the bard's lute. Marjorie, the inn's steadfast helm, will steer the chaos, her with a lantern in the gathering dusk. For now, let us pause in this lively swirl, where new faces stir the inn's restless spirit, and its keepers stand ready for whatever the day may bring. Join us, dear listener, as we drift into the evening's tide, where the inn's doors remain open, and the gentle hum of its life weaves a new chapter, poised to unfold under the stars. The medieval inn, bathed in the soft amber of twilight, settles into a restless calm as the day's shadows lengthen. The hearth's flames flicker like whispered secrets, casting a warm glow over tables still scarred from midday's revelry. The air hums with the rich scent of simmering stew, a familiar potion of barley and mystery, as the inn braces for its evening ritual. Picture yourself, dear listener, nestled by a flickering candle, its wax dripping like silent tears, as the common room fills with the clamor of supper, a symphony of voices, clinking mugs, and the unyielding pulse of life. Let the gentle roar of laughter, the scrape of spoons, and the inn's vibrant chaos envelop you, where the night's feast unfolds under the watchful gaze of its steadfast keepers. Supper begins with a surge of sound, as if the inn itself has thrown open its heart. Guests, their faces flushed from the day's toils, crowd the benches, their chatter rising like steam from the pot. The innkeeper, his sleeves rolled to his elbows, ladles stew with a rhythm born of habit, the broth steaming with the same turnips that have haunted meals past, now softened into submission. This is no gourmet affair, but a hearty offering, its warmth a balm for weary bones. The bread, cut from a loaf as unyielding as stone, lands on tables with a thud, daring guests to challenge its grit. A merchant, his fingers stained with ink, complains the stew tastes different from last night, his tone sharp with suspicion. Marjorie, gliding past with a tray of ale, retorts without glancing back. It's the same, just wiser. Her voice, a velvet whip that silences his grumbling. He eats on, chastened, the room's laughter swallowing his pride. The ale, Weak but ever-flowing is the meal's true hero, its amber glow catching the firelight as mugs are raised in toast to forgotten causes. Safe where water is suspect, it loosens tongues and tempers, fueling tales of lost caravans and unlikely heroes. A family, their cloaks patched with care, huddles at a corner table, their voices clashing over a flea found in their bedding. The mother, her eyes weary but fierce, insists it's a sign of ill luck. The father, waving a crust, dismisses it as a traveler's tax. Their children, undeterred, giggle as one slips a crumb to the goat, which has wandered in again, its beady eyes gleaming with mischief. The creature, now a fixture of the inn's lore, munches contentedly under the table, declared an emotional companion by the youngest child, who strokes its scruffy head with devotion. The room chuckles, the goat's presence a spark of humor in the evening's din. Marjorie, the inn's unerring compass, navigates this tumult with a quiet ferocity, her tray a shield against the press of demands. When the bard is still here, his lute ever hopeful rises to sing a hymn to the stew's murky depths. Her ladle lands in his bowl with a clatter, its force a silent command to sit. His voice falters, the room's laughter a chorus of approval, for Marjorie's subtle strength is the inn's law. She dodges a merchant's arm, raised in a heated debate over grain prices, and sidesteps a spilled mug with the grace of a cat, her eyes catching every flicker of trouble. A monk, his robes dusted with crumbs, hums a prayer, his piety no match for her glance when he reaches for another mug. Her authority, woven into every step, holds the chaos at bay, her presence a beacon in the storm of voices. The common room, alive with overlapping sounds, is a tapestry of human folly and joy. Near the hearth, two traders shout over a deal, their voices louder than the crackling flames, while a woman, her hair braided with care, trades a story for a sip of ale, her laughter bright as a bell. The goat, emboldened, nudges a bench, toppling a spoon, and the child's squeal of delight cuts through the noise like a clear note. The innkeeper, stationed behind the counter, polishes a mug that hasn't gleamed in years, his face softened by the scene. To him, this mess, this riot of spills, shouts, and shared bread is the inn's triumph, a sign of its beating heart. He catches Marjorie's eye, their silent nod to a pact that this, for all its flaws, is their victory, a place where life thrives in its rawest form. This boisterous feast, though, is but a fleeting chord in the inn's endless melody. As night deepens, the meal will give way to the evening's wilder antics, where songs, dice, and dreams will tangle under the rafters. Marjorie, the inn's steadfast guardian, will guide the revelry, her wit a torch in the gathering dark. For now, let us linger in this raucous glow, where the inn's spirit sings through its people their quarrels, their laughter, their fleeting bonds. Join us, dear listener, as we sail into the night's embrace, where the inn's hearth burns bright, and the promise of new tales flickers like stars, ready to light the way forward. While the medieval inn's supper fades into the twilight's embrace, the common room pulses with a restless energy, its air thick with the lingering warmth of stew and the hum of sated souls. The hearth's flames, now softened to a golden murmur, cast flickering shadows that dance across the scarred tables, as if inviting the night to unfold its secrets. Picture yourself, dear listener, tucked into a quiet corner, the inn's rafters creaking overhead like a lullaby's refrain, as the evening's revelry begins a tapestry of song, jest, and fleeting chaos. Let the gentle strum of a lute, the clatter of dice, and the inn's vibrant pulse draw you into this moment, where the night's entertainment weaves a spell of mirth and mischief under the watchful eye of its keepers. The evening stirs with a spark, as if the inn itself has loosened its collar. Guests, their bellies full and their spirits lifted by ale, lean back on benches, their voices weaving a chorus of laughter and half-remembered tales. The bard, undaunted by his earlier rebuke, seizes the moment, clearing his throat with a flourish that promises more bravado than skill. His lute, its strings worn but willing, twangs 3 uncertain notes, launching into a ballad of the fair lady of Festerwell, a tale of love tangled with trollish woes. His voice, earnest if off-key, rises above the din, drawing cheers from half the room and groans from the other. The goat, curled under a table, sneezes in protest, its disdain a note of humor that ripples through the crowd. Marjorie, her tray poised like a sentinel's shield, watches from the sidelines, her eyes narrowing at the bard's theatrics, ready to quell any excess with a glance. Near the hearth, 2 old comrades, their faces weathered by years of shared roads, engage in a slurred riddle contest, their rules as murky as the ale in their mugs. One riddle, possibly a recipe for turnip broth, baffles the other, sparking a debate that grows louder than the bard's song. A monk, seated nearby, covers his ears with a pious frown, his lips moving in a psalm sung at a volume meant for cathedral spires. His humming, oddly rhythmic, blends with the room's cacophony, a sacred thread in the evening's wild weave. The innkeeper, leaning against the counter, sips a mug of his own, his gaze softened by the chaos he's come to cherish. To him, this clamor, part song, part squabble, is the inn's lifeblood, a sign that its walls still hold stories worth telling. The dice come out next, their chipped wooden edges gleaming in the firelight. A small crowd gathers, bets placed with coins, a carved bone, and a tattered glove whose value is fiercely disputed. The players, a mix of merchants and wanderers, shout accusations of cheating, their voices a playful storm that threatens no real harm. Marjorie circles, her steps light but deliberate, her tray a shield against spilled ale or rising tempers. When the bard, emboldened, attempts a dramatic leap onto a bench, her hand catches his arm mid-step, guiding him back to earth with a firmness cloaked in kindness. The room roars with laughter, the moment a testament to her quiet reign. A shy traveler, emboldened by the chaos, produces a flute, its first 3 notes pure and haunting until the goat, roused by the sound, headbutts his knee, earning a round of applause for its impeccable timing. The entertainment, raw and unpolished, is the inn's truest mirror. No stage, no script, just the messy joy of human connection. A woman, her braid loosened by the night's warmth, spins a tale of a haunted well, her voice low and mesmerizing, drawing a hush from those nearby. A child, perched on a stool, mimics the bard's gestures, his giggles brighter than the hearth's glow. The monk, now swayed by ale, joins the riddle game, his solemn guesses sparking mirth even among the dice players. Marjorie, ever vigilant, sweeps a spill with her broom, her movements a silent hymn to order, her eyes catching every spark before it flares. When a mug tips over, she rights it without pause, her tray never faltering, a marvel in a place where chaos is king. This revelry, though, carries a hint of fragility, a glow that burns bright but brief. As the night deepens, the energy will wane, giving way to snores, spilled dreams, and the inn's inevitable drift toward quiet. Marjorie, the inn's steadfast anchor, will guide the transition, her wit a beacon through the fading merriment. The innkeeper, his mug now empty, will begin his rounds, ensuring no one slumbers in the stew pot. For now, let us linger in this radiant tumult, where the inn's spirit dances in its people, their songs, their jests, their fleeting triumphs. Join us, dear listener, as we follow the night's fading embers into the inn's gentle hush, where the echoes of laughter linger and the promise of rest whispers beneath the stars. ready to cradle the weary. The medieval inn, cloaked in the velvet hush of night, sways gently under the weight of its evening's revelry. The hearth's embers pulse like a fading heartbeat, casting a tender glow across the common room, where shadows cling to the rafters like whispered dreams. The air, heavy with the ghosts of stew, ale, and laughter, carries a quiet promise of rest, as if the inn itself longs to curl into slumber. Picture yourself, dear listener, perched on a wobbly stool, the faint creak of the floorboards a lullaby, as the night's final act unfolds a slow, unscripted drift toward silence. Let the soft clink of Marjorie's stacked mugs, the rustle of cloaks, and the inn's fading pulse cradle you into this moment, where closing time weaves a delicate spell of repose amid the remnants of chaos. The evening's fervor begins to wane, not with a flourish, but with a sigh, as if the inn's guests have spent their last sparks of vigor. The bard, his voice hoarse from ballads of trolls and tears, falters mid-verse, replacing lyrics with a dramatic throat clearing that earns a crust of bread tossed in jest or perhaps in mercy. The crowd, once a roaring sea of mirth, now slumps, weighed down by the stew's hearty embrace and the ale's gentle sway. A merchant, his purse still clutched like a talisman, leans so far back his stool becomes a throne, his companion propping boots on him as if he were furniture. Their laughter, once thunderous, dwindles to a murmur, a soft echo of the night's earlier fire. The innkeeper, his eyes crinkled with the wisdom of countless such nights, watches from behind the counter, his mug half drunk, its contents a quiet companion to his thoughts. Marjorie, the inn's unyielding sentinel, begins her silent reign over the endgame. Her apron, a map of the day's battles, hangs looser now, but her resolve remains taut. She stacks mugs with a precision that belies the hour, each clink a note in the inn's closing song. Her eyebrow, raised with a subtle arc, speaks louder than any bell, urging lingering guests to wrap up their tales. A peddler, his eyes glassy with ale, insists on a late snack, a roast duck, no less his voice, a hopeful slur. Marjorie, her tray now empty, offers a crust of bread and a look that could silence a storm. Her words soft but final. Chew slow, sleep soon. The peddler, chastened, nibbles his prize, his dreams of duck fading into the night's haze. Her authority, woven into every glance, transforms the room from a revel's aftermath into a haven poised for rest. The goat, ever a shadow of the inn's spirit, has claimed a spot by the embers, its scruffy form curled into a ball of stubborn warmth. It is not allowed indoors, but its quiet loyalty, outshining half the guests' manners, earns it a pass. The innkeeper passing by gives it a nod, as if acknowledging a fellow keeper of the inn's secrets. He begins his rounds, a ritual as old as the beams above. With a poker, he nudges the dying fire, coaxing a final flicker to ward off the night's chill. He checks the stew pot, empty but for a crust of broth, ensuring no one has mistaken it for a bed, a lesson learned from a long ago mishap. A traveler, snoring face down on a bench, is gently nudged to a safer perch. The innkeeper's touch practiced, almost tender, honed by years of guiding the weary to rest. The room empties in wobbly waves, not all at once, but in a slow, meandering tide. A couple, their cloaks tangled from too much ale, stumbles upstairs, bumping into every beam, their giggles a soft counterpoint to the inn's hush. They'll complain of noise by morning, blind to their own clamor, an irony the innkeeper notes with a wry twist of his lips. A monk, his robes askew, lingers by the hearth, muttering about sin and bread, until Marjorie's shadow falls across him. He shuffles off, his prayers trailing like smoke. The common room, once a riot of sound, grows still, save for the occasional hiccup or the goat's deep sigh. a sound that carries the weight of a day well lived. The innkeeper, his rounds nearly done, props a bucket by the front door, a precaution against its tendency to swing open in the night's restless winds. Marjorie, her braid now fraying at the edges, sweeps a final spill, her broom, a quiet partner in the inn's dance. Her face, etched with the day's toll, holds a flicker of pride, a silent vow to meet tomorrow's chaos with the same steady hand. The innkeeper, leaning against the counter, meets her gaze, their shared silence a tapestry of trust. Together, they have shepherded the inn through another day, its spills and songs, its quarrels and joys, all woven into its endless saga. The inn, for all its flaws, leaky shutters, sticky floors, is a living thing, its spirit sustained by those who tend its heart and heart. As the last mug is stacked, the last bench righted, the room breathes easier, its scars softened by the promise of sleep. This gentle fade, though, is but a breath before the inn's next dawn. As the stars claim the sky, the inn will stir again, its doors ready to welcome new travelers, new tales. Marjorie, the inn's eternal guardian, will rise before the sun, her tray poised for the morning's fray. The innkeeper, his dreams filled with the inn's creaks, will follow, ready to stoke the hearth anew. For now, let us rest in this tranquil pause, where the inn's embers glow, and its people find solace in the night's embrace. Join us, dear listener, as we linger in the inn's quiet heart, where the echoes of the day dissolve into dreams, and the gentle promise of tomorrow whispers through the darkness, waiting to bloom. Under the cloak of a star-strewn night, the medieval inn slumbers in a delicate hush, its common room now a shadowed sanctuary where embers glow like distant constellations. The air, laced with the faint musk of ale and the lingering warmth of the hearth, cradles the inn in a quiet embrace, as if soothing its weary bones. Yet, beneath this stillness, a subtle pulse persists, stirring in the creaks of the rafters and the soft snores drifting from above. Picture yourself, dear listener, tucked into a darkened corner, a candle's flicker your only guide, as we ascend the inn's groaning stairs into the realm of sleep and secrets. Let the gentle rustle of straw, the murmur of dreams, and the inn's hushed vigil draw you into this moment, where the midnight patrol unveils the inn's hidden heart, guarded by its steadfast keeper. The ascent begins with a cautious step, for the stairs worn smooth by countless boots protest underfoot, their groans a chorus of reluctant wakefulness. Each tread sags, as if contemplating collapse, yet holds firm, a testament to the inn's enduring spirit. Upstairs, the shared chambers hum with the chaotic harmony of slumber. The air is thick, warm with the breath of a dozen strangers packed into wooden frames stuffed with straw. Blankets, threadbare and heavy with the scent of wool and wanderlust, drape over sleepers, offering scant comfort against the rustling mattress beneath. The straw shifts with every turn, whispering secrets or perhaps complaints of mice that share the beds uninvited. Privacy is a myth here, a notion as fleeting as a bard's good note, and the room thrums with the raw intimacy of shared humanity. The sleepers, a motley crew of pilgrims, traders, and rogues, weave a tapestry of sound. A merchant snores in sharp bursts like a bellows stoking a forge, his exhales rattling the beams. Another, perhaps a wanderer dreaming of home, mutters about carrots, his words a soft riddle lost to the night. A third, curled beneath his cloak, hums a hymn through his nose, the sound eerie yet oddly soothing, like a wind through a hollow reed. The din is not gentle, but relentless, a symphony of unrest that echoes the inn's own refusal to fully sleep. One guest tosses, his boots still laced thumping the floor, while another whispers, "No, my lord," in a tone that hints at a dream of fealty or folly. The chamber pot, tucked behind a tattered curtain that fools no one, stands full, its presence a shared burden no one acknowledges until dawn. An owl, drawn by the open shutter, perches on the sill, its eyes gleaming like twin moons. Its arrival, unbidden but bold, adds a note of wildness to the room, its soft hoots blending with the human chorus. A sleeper stirs, mistaking the hour for morning, and stumbles toward the pot, stepping on a hand that elicits a muffled curse. The owl watches, unperturbed, as the man is shushed back to his bed, the room's fragile truce restored. The heat, trapped by so many bodies, clings like a second skin. Cloaks shed in heaps, blankets kicked aside. The air carries a robust bouquet stew's aftertaste, unwashed socks, and the goat's faint musk, though it slumbers below. It's a scent that would overwhelm, were the sleepers not too exhausted to care. The innkeeper, his candle, a trembling star in the dark, begins his midnight patrol, a ritual etched into his bones. His steps are soft, deliberate. Each floorboard's creak a betrayal he navigates with care. Downstairs, he checks the front door, its bolt loose but holding, propped by a bucket against the night's restless gusts. The back door, equally stubborn, creaks in defiance, but he secures it, his hands steady despite the hour. In the common room, mugs stand half drunk, their contents fermenting into something new, while a spoon floats inexplicably in the ale barrel, a mystery he leaves unsolved. Behind the counter, he counts the day's coins, sorting coppers from buttons, and a carved bone of dubious worth, placing the oddities in a bowl labeled undecided in his mind. Upstairs, he peers into the shared chamber, a sea of limbs and cloaks, bathed in moonlight. One guest sleeps upside down, his boots dangling off the bed's edge, while another has wedged himself beneath, as if the floor were safer than the straw. The innkeeper's candle flickers, catching the glint of a lute string plucked by an unseen hand, though the bard lies snoring below. The goose, missing from its emberside nest, adds a note of unease, its absence a puzzle. For another hour, he checks the chamber pot, its fullness a silent reproach, but all is as it should be by the inn's low standards fine. The broom, propped by the wall, has fallen again, its tumble a quiet omen he shrugs off, his exhale a prayer that no fires flare before dawn. Marjorie, sleeping in a back room, her ears tuned to the inn's heartbeat, stirs at nothing, her rest light but unbroken. Her presence, even in slumber, is a shield, ready to rouse at a crash or a bard's midnight tune. The innkeeper, descending the stairs, blows out his candle, its smoke curling like a final note. The inn, for all its quirks creaking stairs, full pots, errant owls holds fast, its keepers a bulwark against the night's caprice. This vigil, though solitary, is the inn's quiet strength, a promise that dawn will find it whole. Yet, this hushed watch is but a fleeting pause in the inn's ceaseless tale. As the stars fade, the inn will awaken, its chambers stirring with groans and lost boots. Marjorie, ever vigilant, will rise to meet the day's fray. For now, let us linger in this nocturnal stillness, where the inn's secrets sleep and its keepers stand guard. Join us, dear listener, as we drift into the dawn's gentle promise, where the inn's embers smolder and the first light of morning waits to stir its restless soul anew. The first whispers of dawn weave through the medieval inn's time-worn shutters. The night's quiet vigil gives way to a tender stirring, like the soft breath of a world reborn. The hearth's embers, cradled in ash, flicker with the promise of new flames, while the air carries a faint medley of straw, ale, and the lingering dreams of sleepers above. The inn, a weathered vessel of stories, stands poised at the edge of a new day, its scars a testament to the life it holds. Picture yourself Dear listener, seated by a frost-kissed window, the gentle creak of the inn's bones, your companion as we greet the morning's dawn, a moment where chaos and care converge to etch the inn's enduring legacy. Let the soft clatter of bowls, the rustle of waking guests, and the inn's timeless pulse guide you into this final chapter, where the cycle begins anew under the steadfast gaze of its keepers. The morning breaks with a chorus of groans, as if the inn's guests are reluctant to part with their dreams. Upstairs, the shared chambers hum with the rustle of straw and the thud of boots hitting the floor. A merchant, his cloak tangled from a restless night, searches for a missing boot, only to find it inexplicably by the hearth below, its laces knotted by some nocturnal jest. The goat, stirring from its emberside nest, bleats a quiet protest, its presence a mystery no one questions. The stairs groan under the weight of early risers, pilgrims with staff, traders with coin-heavy purses, and a monk whose prayers are punctuated by yawns. Their footsteps, a soft drumbeat, signal the inn's awakening, each tread a note in its ceaseless song. Downstairs, Marjorie, her braid reknotted with resolve, emerges from her back room, her shawl a shield against the morning's chill. Her eyes, sharp despite the hour, scan the room for overnight mischief. A candle gone missing, a broom handle sticky with jam, a stool overturned by some late-night caper. She moves with a quiet ferocity, righting the stool, wiping the broom, and noting the damage with a sigh that holds both weariness and pride. Her inventory is a ritual, a silent vow to meet the day's fray with the same iron will that has carried her through countless dawns. The innkeeper, his face etched with the night's vigil, joins her, his eyes half open but his hands already stoking the hearth. The fire flares, its crackle a greeting to the day, as he sets the pottage pot to warm, its contents a familiar blend of barley and hope. Guests trickle down, their denials as predictable as the sunrise. I didn't spill that ale, a trader insists, though his cloak bears a telltale stain. I wasn't snoring, a pilgrim mutters, despite the monk's pointed glance. I never touched the cheese, a sleeper swears, though crumbs cling to his beard. Marjorie, her response a slow blink, offers a flat, perhaps, her voice a velvet curtain that ends debate. The bard, bleary-eyed but undaunted, declares a new verse, inspired by the night's snores, only to be met with a bowl of pottage and a firm eat first. He complies, his lute silent for once, a rare victory for the inn's morning peace. Breakfast resumes, the pot bubbling with the same stubborn warmth that has fed generations, the ale poured with a care that belies its simplicity. New guests arrive as the sun climbs, their boots tracking mud across Marjorie's swept floor. A farmer, dragging a sack of roots, nods brusquely, his eyes wary of the room's bustle. A woman, her cloak embroidered with faded roses, offers a smile laced with the promise of complaints. A knight, his helmet dented, bellows for service, his voice a jarring note in the morning's gentle hum. Marjorie meets them with her tray, her wit a shield against their quirks. When the knight demands a vegan option, the room falls silent, the word as alien as a comet. Marjorie, unfazed, points to the pottage, her gesture a quiet decree. This is what we have. The knight, deflated, accepts a bowl, the inn's rhythm unbroken by his folly. The innkeeper, cradling a mug of ale like a cherished heirloom, watches from behind the counter, his gaze softened by the inn's ceaseless cycle. To him, this morning, like countless others, is a triumph, not of grandeur, but of endurance. The inn, with its wobbly benches, sticky floors, and ever-present goat, is a living legacy, its walls etched with the laughter, quarrels, and dreams of those who pass through. Marjorie, scraping a stain from a bench with a surgeon's focus, embodies this legacy, her every act a thread in the inn's tapestry. Together, they are its keepers, their bond, a quiet vow to sustain its heart through every dawn. This morning, though, is but a single note in the inn's eternal melody. As the day unfolds, new travelers will arrive, their stories ready to spill like ale on the floor. Marjorie, the inn's unyielding soul, will meet them with her tray and her stare, guiding the chaos with a grace born of years. The innkeeper, his hearth ever burning, will stoke the flames, ready for the next tale. For now, let us linger in this dawn's gentle glow, where the inn's legacy shines in its people, their flaws, their joys, their endless return. Join us, dear listener, as we hold fast to this moment, where the inn's doors stand open, its hearth alight, and the promise of countless tomorrows weaves a quiet hymn ready to echo through the ages. In the medieval inn's timeless cycle of chaos and care fades into the dawn's gentle glow, our journey stretches beyond its creaking walls, weaving through the vibrant threads of history's broader tapestry. Picture yourself, dear listener, seated by a glowing hearth, the air rich with the scent of old parchment, as we embark on a quieter voyage through three distinct eras: the Dutch Golden Age, the ancient Olympic Games, and the Whiskey Rebellion. Let the soft rustle of turning pages and the faint echo of distant voices lull you into these moments, where human ambition, devotion, and defiance shape legacies that linger like embers in the night. In the early 1600s, the Dutch Golden Age bloomed in a soggy republic no larger than a merchant's ledger, yet its reach rivaled empires. This was a land of canals and cunning, where the Dutch East India Company, a juggernaut of commerce, sailed to distant shores, trading spices, silk, and sorrow. Its ships, armed with cannons and ambition, birthed modern capitalism, stock markets, dividends, and a ruthless hunger for profit. Yet, amid this maritime hustle, artists like Vermeer painted quiet miracles, capturing milkmaids and sunlit rooms with a radiance that whispered eternity. Tulip mania, a fevered chase for striped bulbs, saw fortunes bloom and burst, a cautionary tale of greed's fragile dance. The Dutch, with their tidy cities and fearless ideas, showed a small nation could cast a giant shadow, their legacy etched in trade routes and canvas. Centuries earlier, in 776 BCE, the ancient Olympic Games ignited in Olympia's sacred grove, a celebration of sweat and divinity under Zeus's watchful gaze. Greek men, stripped bare to honor the gods, raced, wrestled, and clashed in pancration, their bodies offerings of mortal striving. Olive wreaths, not gold, crowned victors, granting eternal fame to close that outlasted marble. These games were more than sport. They were politics, city-states flexing pride through every sprint and grapple. The sacred truce, meant to pause wars, faltered under ambition. Yet the games endured, a testament to human grit. Banned in 393 CE, their spirit flickered back in 1896, reborn as the modern Olympics, a legacy of glory woven into the world's pulse, closer to our time. In 1791, the Whiskey Rebellion flared in America's frontier, a spark of defiance against a fledgling nation's tax. Western Pennsylvania farmers, for whom whiskey was currency and survival, saw Hamilton's excise as tyranny, echoing the Revolution's cry. By 1794, their armed resistance, mobs, tar, and fire, challenged the Constitution's might. Washington, the only president to lead troops in the field, marched 13,000 strong, quelling the uprising without blood. The rebellion's embers fueled political divides, birthing parties that debated power's reach. Though the tax was repealed in 1802, Its legacy endures in questions of governance and dissent, a reminder that even a glass of corn mash can stir a nation's soul. These eras, though distant, mirror the inn's own heart, a place where human striving, whether for profit, glory, or justice, collides with chaos and care. The Dutch traded dreams for empires. Olympians sweated for immortality, and rebels fought for their hearts, just as the inn's guests sought warmth amid their wanderings. Marjorie's steady hand, the innkeeper's quiet pride, echo the resilience of these historical tides, each a thread in the tapestry of endurance. As we close this journey, let us linger in their glow, where history's lessons hum softly, like a fire that never dies. Join us, dear listener, as we carry these stories forward, their whispers a gentle call to explore the past's endless dance. The inn's doors, like history's pages, remain open, ready to welcome new tales under the stars, where the legacy of human spirit burns eternal, waiting to light your way